This is 97.3 Citi FM, and welcome to EdTech Monday. EdTech Monday is an initiative of the Mastercard Foundation. The Mastercard Foundation works with visionary organizations to enable young people in Africa and indigenous communities in Canada to access dignified and fulfilling work. It's one of the largest private foundations in the world with a mission to advance learning and promote financial inclusion to create an inclusive and equitable world. The foundation was created by Mastercard in 2006 as an independent organization with its own board of directors and management. Now, in Ghana, after more than a decade working with the private sector and government to promote financial inclusion and education through its Scholars Program, the foundation launched the Young Africa Works, a 10-year strategy to enable 3 million young Ghanaians, particularly young women, to access dignified and fulfilling work by 2030. Now, EdTech Monday is one of the initiatives of the Foundation's Regional Center for Teaching and Learning in ICT, aimed at leveraging technology to advance teaching and learning. Now, research shows that investing in young women is the key to unlocking their potential for prosperity within their communities and countries as a whole. Now, as we culminate activities for International Women's Month, Kokui, it's high time we reflected on how to move forward in addressing these challenges and the role that educational technology, that's what we're talking about, educational technology plays in expanding access to girls and young women. So how do we increase access to technology-enabled learning for girls and young women? What policy measures are required to ensure we do not leave half of the population behind? And how can EdTech developers ensure their products become more gender-friendly? So to talk to me about this, I have three very special people. Rashidatu Iddrisu is the head of programs at CAMFED for Young Women Empowerment. Rashidatu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard, for having me.
Great to have you. Florence Toffa is the CEO of Mobile Ghana and a technology consultant. Florence, great to have you.
Thank you, Bernard. It's a pleasure to be here.
And last but not least, I have Cecil Nutakor, founder and president of eCampus, an EdTech company committed to putting the classroom in the palm of young learners. Cecil, good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
Fantastic. All right, you can join the conversation, hashtag EdTech Monday on social media. Let's talk about empowering women through technology-enabled learning. Let's start with Rashidatu. So from where you sit, how palpable is the challenge of girls and young women accessing technology-enabled learning? What does the data show? How serious is the problem?
Thank you, Bernard, for the opportunity, and a good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. Before I move or proceed to the question, let me briefly talk about what we do at CAMFED. So CAMFED supports marginalized girls to learn, thrive, and lead change in their communities. We do this by providing bursaries, where we provide educational materials girls require to stay and not drop out of school, so they'll be able to learn and succeed. We also provide psychosocial support and invest in helping to create a safe and a conducive learning environment to aid teaching and learning. In Ghana, CAMFED operates in 1,189 schools in 33 districts across 11 regions. Coming back to the question, yes, the problem of girls gaining or getting access to technology-enabled learning is serious, and these can be attributed to many factors. Number one, in our social structure or our social orientation, where gender stereotyping is so prevalent, it makes it difficult for girls to even believe in themselves. You are told, or girls are oriented to feel or believe that they are less intelligent to do or have the capacity to study anything technical in nature. And so once it has to do with IT in schools, you find girls not really showing interest in these subject areas. And most of the time, it is even the boys that you see being pushed in these areas or picking these kind of courses. It has to do with how girls are oriented from our society. Number two is lack of enabled IT-enabled learning devices in our schools. So currently, if you go to most of our basic and even secondary schools, yes, we teach you find ICT being taught in the schools, but these sessions are usually just mainly you find teachers teaching theory. There are no resources to enable the ICT teachers to do a practical or take students through the practical way of learning technology. So they just come with their textbooks or whatever and speak in the abstract. So girls or rural children sometimes are left to imagine what it looks like. If there's school, there's a picture of whatever in the book, then they look at that. But otherwise, there are no devices for these for teaching in the schools. Again, parents, particularly in rural communities, do not have the means, do not have the resources to be able to provide these devices for their children. Hence, it makes it really, really difficult for rural girls to access technology-enabled learning in the schools. Again, if you look at programs designed, it looks like previous and even the current government have all done their part in terms of improving technology or ICT lessons in schools. But if you look at the current programs that has been designed for in this regard, they usually do not suit the rural context, making it again a hindrance for girls, particularly in such settings, to access enabled technology-enabled learning. For instance, when COVID came and schools went on break, and the government introduced the Ghana learning on TV, the question one would ask is how many of these rural communities or how many families in the rural communities have access to multi-TV to be able to join or sit in the lessons. It's a good thing, but it kind of suits some group and then leave out those in the rural context. So indeed, the issue is really, really serious, and we need to do something about it.
So it is a problem. Let's come to Florence. Florence, what do you think accounts for the slow response to this challenge? Are they cultural and systemic? What kind of impediments do you think are holding us back in responding to this?
Thank you, Bernard. I think that this is a global problem, and I think the developing countries as well is not an exception. According to Intel's Web and Women Research in 2012, it states that, look, in developing countries, there are about 600 women that have access to internet, and this is short. This is less 25% of what men are on the internet. And I think that primarily there are specific factors that account for the slow response to this problem. And one of them is socialization. The way we socialize our children, our girls, our boys, right from the beginning. You know, what you see sometimes is what you become. What you don't see is difficult for you to attain and become. And I think that, for instance, in the house, normally they buy toy cars for the boys, gun shooting, adventure, and the girls, oh, you see baby dolls, you buy the dolls for the babies. And this apparently entrenched some of our cultural practices that, look, the girls, you are supposed to be carrying the babies and you are supposed to be cooking, like when there are dishes that you are supposed to be doing that. And these are some of the cultural and systemic practices that entrench attaining to or eradicating some of access to technology, because a boy sees that I can drive. Like we've had research recently where we assembled some elderly people, women. We've asked them, do you have a driving license? And I think about 90% of the people we assembled said, I don't have driving license. Do you even have a goal of driving a car? No. But if you should ask a boy, this will certainly be different. And these are some of the systemic practices. Like at Mobile Web Ghana, for instance, we've worked on different projects to increase women and girls' access to internet. And some are done through coding. And majority is done through advocacy, just telling them, exposing them to the opportunities that are available. Like, for instance, I was in one of the secondary schools. I spoke to about almost 1,000 girls were assembled. And I asked, how many of you want to study like technology, like coding, computer science? Surprisingly, like I had a handful of them. How many of them, what do you want to do? I want to be a nurse. I want to be a teacher. I want to be this. And it's primarily because that is what they have been exposed to. And even in their schools, nobody tells them that, look, if you like, go to the secondary schools, ask them, what do you want to become? Teacher, nurse, this. There are no exposure. There is nothing like, I don't know. I know they have a career guidance or other people in the schools, but this has to be conscious. It has to be deliberate. If we want to like tackle this problem, apart from what the private sector is doing, like technology hubs, like Mobile Web Ghana, especially in the public schools, when it has to be conscious, it has to be deliberate, it has to be factored into the day-to-day delivery of content and what we want to see. Other than that, that we will continue singing this song is a problem. Okay. How do we solve it?
We'll come to solution shortly. Thank you. But let me talk to Cecil. Cecil, what do you think is missing from a policy and access point of view?
Okay, Bernard, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning to the listeners and viewers. I think Rashida and Florence have touched on quite a number of things. For me, I would like to tackle it. I'll take the bull by the horn. I think it's just leadership. We've just failed to get leadership to see things through. You know, there have been several policies. I remember from Banredu's time under the ex-president Kukufo's administration. That was when we introduced one laptop per child. Banredu, blessed memory, you know. If they had leadership had followed through, we wouldn't be beating this drum again. Then it didn't work. I don't know what happened at the Ministry of Communication. It didn't work. Then came Atta Mills. You remember the RLG laptops branded with Atta Mills? Thousands of them were distributed. The challenge they had was now we had a lot of devices in the hands of the kids with no content on it. And with no even plan on how to repair them in case they break down, which is another opportunity that TVET should have taken care of, so that by now we have people that can even assemble those computers and repair them. That also failed. Then when Osla came, she also said, what, 1 tablet per child. I've not seen a single one distributed yet. I'm still waiting for Osla to do that because I've had conversations with her about this. So there's the intention to get these things through. And in the latest MPP manifesto, is there 1 tablet per child? I've not seen a single one issued. So there's this intention, there's this policy, but we just lack leadership. Excuse me to say, nobody seems to have the balls to take this to the last end. So until we find a leader who has the balls to actually take this thing from paper and get it to the hands of those kids in those rural areas, then we can have a conversation. Because the telcos have done a great deal of job to extend connectivity. Although over the weekend I was at Botoku and there was no service. So MTN and Vodafone, Airtel to go, I beg you, go to Botoku. I was there for 24 hours. I felt I was dead. There was no single service. And there are 14 schools there. So those kids are like dead. They are dead. They are not humans anymore. Human right abuse. Anyway, let me put that aside. So please, our leaders, Bernard, nobody has the balls to implement this. They can come after me. Get the balls and implement things and stop putting up and talk big English in Parliament.
I'll come back to that issue. Thank you, Cecil. Let me come back to Rashidatu. So we have a clear picture of what the challenge is. How do we solve it? So how do we increase access for girls and young women in general? So as he mentioned, the rural area with no internet connectivity. Can you share some of the initiatives you and CAMFED are leading in this space in addressing this, Rashidatu?
Thank you once again, Bernard. I can see how passionate Cecil is about this because it's indeed a big problem. I think, number one, we need to make technology an integral part of our educational system at all levels, basic, secondary, and tertiary. a lot more should be done. And I think that's what Cecil is talking about. A lot more can be done with regards to resourcing schools to make technology education more practical and fun, rather than just, I think teachers are trying their best, but it's not enough. GES need to relook at how schools are being resourced to teach technology in a more practical way. Number two, we also need to currently our policies does not allow school children to use mobile devices in school. I think with COVID in the picture now, there's a need for policy makers to take a real look at this again, especially when the government is also challenged with resources for schools. Because if the government is able to provide all it takes to make the point one I spoke about, where a lot of resources are required in the schools to enable teachers teach ICT, then we will not be discussing this. But where government is challenged, currently, if you speak to the authorities, one of the things they keep talking about is lack of or inadequate resources. How do we enable or bring in parents in this regard? Because trust me, a lot of these students have smartphones, though they are banned from using them. How can we take a real look at that policy to allow students to use mobile devices in their schools, probably purchased by their parents, but then the school plays a role in regulating how it is being used? So for instance, in school, there are certain sites they cannot go to. I don't know, maybe Cecil and Florence can speak to the technical aspect of it, but I believe something could be done where parents and government can work together, where government cannot provide these resources. Parents who are capable to resource their children or provide these devices are given the opportunity to do so, and then the school regulates how they are used whilst they are on campus to ensure they don't use it for all the bad reasons or to indulge in any bad activities. I think to also increase access for girls and young women in particular, we need to be deliberate. And to do so, we need to increase technology access for girls by dealing with the effect gender stereotyping have had on girls, and then reshaping their aspirations so they desire to do or take up ICT related courses. As Florence mentioned in her submission, out of over 1,000 students or girls, just a few responded positively to picking up IT related courses. It has to do with how we've been socialized. So a lot more needs to be done to help these girls reshape their aspirations. At CAMFED, what we have done in this regard since 2008, through our annual camps. I remember in 2018 till somewhere 2013, we organized what we call the smart camps, where the girls are brought together annually. We deliberately take them to places where they can have access or they can see women in science, maths, and technology-related professions, where they also get, we sometimes take them to their workplaces for them to observe what they do, just to whip up their interest and let them see the possibility of women also venturing into some of these technical areas like technology. Through with support from the Mastercard Foundation, we also implemented held leadership and enrichment camps where we held role modeling sessions, and we carefully selected role models in these areas, technical related programs, where girls and women would always shy away from, to come and speak to them and inspire them to venture into reading or studying courses in that regard.
Okay. Thank you. Let me come to Florence. I know because of what you do, you are one of the shining examples for young women in the field of learning and technology. From your experience, What were some of the defining moments as far as access to learning and your leadership journey is concerned? What are some of the practical ways we can increase access to young girls and women using your story, Florence?
Okay, so and I think most of the people we've trained have told this story over and over before. I didn't study computer science in school. I did psychology and sociology, and Bernard, you know that. And I think that the opportunity came, and I grabbed the opportunity. After national service, I was working in the University of Ghana, and then I had an interest. I was exposed. By then, I started using the computer, sending emails to my faculty members. I became curious. What is it that is making the computer to process this information, deliver it to me instantly? Whilst those days I used to go to the post office, buy stamp post, and it takes a long time. So my journey started when I started getting curious and when I wanted to know what is there in the computer and how this is going to transform communication across board instead of physically going to the post office and posting the letter to my head of department and then he replying to me. So when the opportunity came for me to study computer science or study software engineering, MEST came, Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. And I actually resigned from my job and I went to do 2 years because I was just curious. I didn't know what the aftermath would be, but I took the risk of, look, I have to do this because it's changing the way communication is done across board. That's how my journey started. And I didn't start off like, I want to be a leader in technology. No. But whilst I prepared myself, the opportunities just came. And the exposure to the exposure I had gave me so many other opportunities. And this is how I want to encourage the women and girls. What do we need to do? We need to understand that things have changed. Even with COVID, if you're a mom, like mothers have to now take care of their kids to learn whilst they were at home. Now, how if they don't know anything about technology, they don't know anything about even creating a Google Class email. There were times that I have to help other people to simply do that. So if you're a mom, you think that, oh, as for this thing called technology, I'm not interested, then subsequently you'll be able to help your child when there is another form of lockdown. And so these are the things that we need to do. We cannot say that we are sitting down unconcerned. Whilst things are changing, people are developing. And, when it comes to technology or when it comes to granting access or giving access to women and girls, there are two things that comes to mind. Number one is local content. What kind of content do we have? Because our girls have access to mobile phone, whether we like it or not, whether their parents are aware about it or not. Some of them, they hide it. Some of them, they are given to them by their parents. What kind of content are they accessing whilst they have access to these devices? And number two, who is guiding them to what they should learn? Are there opportunities? There are lots of opportunities. Now, I always tell people, look, you can't give an excuse that I don't know ABCD. YouTube is there, Coursera is there, Alison is there. There are lots of resources. Now it's an information overload. And so we have to make sure that, look, we are saying access and leadership. And sometimes, of course, the government plays a key and central role, but there must be collaboration between government and private sector because, of course, government would like to train all the teachers to be able to have technology knowledge. But there are private institutions like Mobile Web Ghana, technology hubs. There are technology hubs almost in any regions in Ghana. There needs to be, that's why I said, look, if we want to do it, like Cecil also mentioned, then we must be conscious about the leadership and the practical steps that we want to use to be able to achieve this.
This is EdTech Monday it's live on Citi FM. It's brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation, who've introduced the EdTech Monday as one of the initiatives for leveraging technology to advance learning and teaching. Today, we're discussing a very interesting topic, enabling young women's leadership, the role of EdTech. And my guests are Rashidatu, Iddrisu, Head of Programs for Young Women Empowerment at CAMFED Ghana. Florence, Toffa, who you just heard, is the CEO of Mobile Web Ghana and a technology consultant. And of course, Cecil Nutakor is the founder and president of eCampus, an EdTech company committed to putting the classroom in the palm of young learners. So Cecil, let me come back to you. What is the EdTech community doing? Now, I'm not talking government, I'm talking the community doing to increase access to young girls and women? What are some of the tools out there, and how do we ensure girls and young men are not left behind? Cecil, your take.
All right, Bernard, thanks so much. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. You want to do my top small. All right, so
no, because you are in the ecosystem as one of the service providers. So maybe I wanted to talk about some of the solutions that are out there that we can leverage. So I don't want to do your top at all. Cecil, are you there? Or you gone home?
Yeah, so I'm here. So as far back as 2002, we started eCampus, what is now very popular. But we started it by using Microsoft Access to create Q&As that you can answer and see your strength and weakness based on topics. And we started selling it on diskettes, if you remember diskettes, floppy disks. So as far back 2002, that's how we started to try and address the problem. At the time, we didn't even, the buzzword EdTech wasn't that popular. So over time, this has evolved. And we've evolved into an ecosystem now where we have a number of other EdTech companies solving specific needs. So what we have been able to achieve at eCampus is that we've built a platform that can plug in just about anybody. We've implemented for the Ghana School of Law. We've implemented for universities where we've put in place content that can prepare you for junior high school certificate exams, senior high school WAEC, nurses training, midwifery, aviation law, Six Sigma, project management. So we've built a platform where anybody can just plug in. So if you have content that can even train people on road safety, right? Which we've started recently. The time Citi FM was doing their road safety campaign and, they put a camera on you. We set up a road safety content on our platform, which is still free, breast cancer. So we've managed to build a platform that anybody that has content can plug in. Schools can plug in at the school level, right? Authors who have paperback books, now that they've changed their curriculum very frequently, authors are losing money. So they are being forced to push books that are not even approved into the system. If you digitize those books, it's easy. You can edit it at one source and it cuts across board. So authors are allowed to put their books on eCampus so that students can access it. So what we've built is the Google of your learning ecosystem, because it's a big industry. Education is so big, no one single person can address it. So if you build a platform where everybody can plug in and provide content, then we can enrich the whole process and bridge the content gap quickly. So what I think maybe the takeaway will be that the EdTech ecosystem have been heavily building technology, but we are a bit lagging on content development because production is expensive. I've been to Citi a couple of times, and when I see the setup just to record 5 minutes or even two seconds of content, the amount of equipment around, we are talking $40,000 and things. So imagine if I have to take textbooks from primary school all the way to nurses training, NVTI, TVET, name them. So currently at eCampus, we have a budget of $50 per minute of content. To bridge the content gap from preschool all the way to corporate training at the civil servant level, we need 2 million minutes of video or audio-video content. 1 minute is $50. So that's $100 million investment for eCampus to be able to bridge the entire gap to close the loop. $100 million. This is African Development Bank, IFC, World Bank kind of investment, not a startup who is struggling to even do one or two. Bernard, you know the move now. So $100 million. We would have bridged the whole content gap and have high quality audiovisual content that can engage the people with all the assessment, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology that we have built. If you don't have this content, you have a white elephant. It's the content that is real value.
All right.
I don't have $100 million right now. So those who are listening to us, if you have $100 million somewhere, we will build content that will take you from preschool, KG, all the way, nursing, midwifery, medical school, all the way to even road safety, even what? Our civil service, even all the way to election education, any content, we distribute it through a platform that can help everybody bridge the gap. So for me, if you say what the EdTech community is doing, we have done a lot, but we are not as big as Citi, who has all the equipment to produce the content overnight. Bernard, if you borrow your equipment to us, you and some men, borrow us your studios. Let's produce more content.
Let's talk about enabling young women in leadership. And before that, then I'll take you to a very interesting video of some 3 young ladies and their views on the matter. But Rashidatu, from your experience leading the education of girls and young men in vulnerable communities, aside access, how do we build their confidence and enable them to reach their full leadership potentials? Give us some examples from your program. Rashidatu, did you hear the question?
Yes, I did.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Bernard. Yes, I believe every woman is a born leader. Unfortunately, the confidence to exhibit their leadership potential to the fullest is mostly inhibited by these gender norms or social orientation, where women are mostly relegated to the background. And so for us to deal with this, mentorship is very critical. With funding support from the MasterCard Foundation and with permission from approval from the Ghana Education Service, CAMFED is currently implementing a well-being and work readiness curriculum or content in 83 senior high schools at the moment, which is aimed at helping girls become self-aware and break through these mental barriers that society has created for young women. Additionally, there's also a program CAMFED runs at the moment called the Transitions program that supports young women to make successful transition to further education, entrepreneurship, and work. The last thing I would like to talk about is the economic empowerment aspect for young women. When a woman is financially stable and sound, it gives them confidence. When a woman can fend for herself, when a woman can do things on her own and is not solely relying on somebody to provide or give them what they need, and they're able to contribute to the well-being and welfare of their families, to community, or to the society, it gives them a voice. And so by empowering women economically, we are on helping women and bringing them, boosting their confidence to be able to stand up for themselves and lead in several capacities, be it in the work field or corporate field, in the business sector, whatever endeavor they venture into. When they are empowered and given economic empowerment, it gives them a lot of confidence to be able to stand and for themselves, defend themselves when the need arises. So I think economic empowerment is one of the key things we need to do, push. And again, through the Young Africa West strategy by the MasterCard Foundation, CAMFED is working in this regard to help a lot of young women to create jobs for themselves by establishing successful or owning successful businesses that can give them this financial stability we are talking about.
All right, thank you. Florence, do we need specific measures in place to deliberately prepare young women to lead? How can education institutions and the world of work prepare young women for leadership?
Thank you, Bernard, for the question. I think that, yes, we need very specific policies and interventions to be able to enable women to lead. For instance, at Mobile Web Ghana, we are running a project in collaboration with the US Embassy, and it's called TAWEB, Technology and Women Empowerment Program, taweb.org. And there are 3 specific modules for that program. The first one is the I Lead program, which encourages and empowers women to be able to climb the leadership ladder. And then the second model is Get Ready for Work series. We are empowering people, we are giving them opportunities, but they need to be able to know what they need to do when they want to get their dream jobs. And the last model is the STEM model, which is teaching them about how to code, anything that has to do with technology, from engineering to Arduino to anything that has to do with STEM. So these 3 different models are the models under the Tower program. Whilst we are building your capacity, we are teaching you how to get a job through the Get Ready for Work series that we organize every Wednesday. And then the I Lead for Women program. So all these programs happens every week from Tuesday to Wednesday and Thursday. And these are some of the things that we did. I remember in 2008, the Ministry of Communications did an intervention to encourage women to code, and 600 girls were trained in Kumasi and 600 in Takoradi as well. I was also sent to Kumasi by the Ministry of Communication to go and mentor some of these girls. And these are the specific initiatives. Like at Mobile Web Ghana, we've had a lot of training programs. And normally when we call for applications for training programs, for instance, if it's app development, we get like out of about 100 applicants, we get like 2 or 3 girls that apply to be part of the program. And then when we did specific call for application to the same program, we get about 100 girls applying. What it means is that they want a room, they want something that meets their need, because sometimes, you see, it's a myth that these programs are for men. And so when they are bundled together with men that, oh, we are training people, sometimes they feel that they cannot compete. And I'm building on Rashida's point about building confidence. And some of these programs that we've had in collaboration with the embassy is to also build their confidence, because you cannot do anything when you're not confident. Even when you are giving the skills, you are giving all the tools, you will never be able to do. When you go for job interviews, you will fail because you don't exude confidence. And this is a core component or the building block of encouraging women to lead as well and to attain greater heights. And so we need specific programs, specific interventions to be able to encourage these women to lead. And I mentioned that there need to be private, public collaborations as well. And this is what we need to do more, collaborations, other than seeing the private sector as competing or not doing much. Because sometimes the private sector, they have the resources, they have the trainers, they have the models, they have the things that they are doing, and the public schools needs to also collaborate. So that collaboration is equally important as well. And I want to encourage the schools as well to be able to do that. And I know that the private sector are doing, the private schools and the private sector, they are doing so much when it comes to exposure. Because sometimes I mentioned all that the person needs is to be able to expose, and it stirs up and the curiosity and other things that the person needs to know. Because if they are, first of all, if they are not exposed to it, they would not know the potential and the opportunities that exist in that specific field. And I really want to say
let me end with Cecil on this point. We've been told that men play a role in enabling women leadership. Now, as a pioneer in the space of EdTech and a strong advocate for gender equality, what are some of the changes you think we require to enable young women to lead at all levels? And is there anything you're doing currently in this space you can share? And what is your advice to men listening to the program right now, Cecil?
Yeah, so thanks, Bernard, again. So what I would say is the people who give confidence to women mostly are men. So you see in most families, the daughter is more attached to the father and the son is more attached to the mother, right? So they're like daddy's girl. So women look up to men a lot. And sometimes that's where they get abused, they get, they get overlooked, or they get men use their authority over them. So what we are doing is we call it the eCampus Fellowship Program. It's a program where we recruit teachers and train them on how to digitize their teaching notes and make them ready to deliver through or distribute digitally through eCampus or any other e-learning platform. But we specifically prepare them for that. So most of these girls believe in their teachers. If the father figure is not there, it is their teachers. So if we are able to train teachers on how to take the hard copy notes they prepare to go and teach in the classroom, which they do every year or every term. They have a way to use simple tools to digitize those content, make it more engaging, and be able to use those tools to deliver it in the classroom or outside of the classroom. Then the girl child sees that, oh, if my teacher, who is also a woman, is able to use this and encourages me to use it, then the gap begins to what? To close up. So that's very important. And I was privileged enough to be a consultant on a GIZ project in 2019, where GIZ contracted me to help train up to, I think, 300 teachers of the local government institute on how to transform their hard copy notes through dramatization to create what? Content that's more engaging. So we take their notes, each model, we write the script, describe scenes to better explain it. We get into the studio, they do the voiceovers. It doesn't have to any fancy to your phone. Do a voiceover. They will use these simple tools to blend it and create animations and simple whiteboard illustrations. And all of a sudden, that boring note is now engaging and everybody wants to consume it. So if we systematically integrate some of these things into our teacher training curriculum, so that if I go to teacher training college, or teacher training school, by the time I'm out of that, I can use some basic technology tools to make my content more engaging and more attractive and easily distributable digitally. That's where I want us to start from, teacher training, because they are the people we look up to, and our girls look up to their teachers the most. Even if you tell them at home that this is not correct, my teacher says it is correct. So let's empower the teacher and we can bridge this gap. Bernard, let's do this.
Thank you very much. Let's now transition to a short video of some young ladies talking about their experiences with leadership and how they've overcome the challenges they face in technology.
Dr. Babette Kofi is my name, and I am a recent graduate from the University of Cape Coast, and currently I'm doing my national service.
I am Kate Odenya Ameniko. I'm a MasterCard Foundation scholar at CAMFED, Ghana. I'm currently a level 200 student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, reading public relations.
My name is Jennifer Dugraft-Linson. I'm a MasterCard Foundation scholar at CAMFED, Ghana, and a final year political science student at the University of Education, Winneba. I run an NGO called Organization for Inclusion and Empowerment. We focus on promoting the well-being of persons with disabilities and girls.
The founder of Babette's Foods and Impact Foundation. So technology has improved my life positively, especially whilst in school. I'm saying this because technology helped me to gain access to tools that are available online that would help me to come up with good academic research work, my assignments, and then any other thing I needed to make my learning more easier, which I leveraged on that. I don't know what I would have done whilst in school, especially when it comes to learning, if there wasn't technology my time, because there were times I missed lectures for good reasons and my colleagues are able to record and send me the notes, all because of technology, and it makes it more easier. And then another thing I could also say is technology helped me to learn skills outside my academics that has helped me and is still helping me. And some of these skills has helped me to be able to start and manage business and an NGO like Impact Foundation.
Well, I'll say in several ways. First of all, I would say that technology has helped me in my schoolwork. So here I'm talking about my research work, working on my assignment, sending in my assignment, engaging with people. So technology has provided us with platforms that we can connect with people.
Personally, the use of technology has really been very impactful for me in my journey in school. I'm not limited to what I study in a classroom, and then I get to learn other things that I'm not studying. I'm reading political science, but I get the opportunity to learn other things that I am enthusiastic about, but that isn't my field of study.
Okay, so those were some young ladies sharing their experiences with us on accessing technology and using it to solve problems and how they become leaders in that regard. So there were 3 or 4 of them speaking to us there. Let me come back to the panel as we try and wrap up. Okay, so what are your closing thoughts? Let me start with Rashidatu, listening to the young ladies talking and how they try to overcome the challenge of access to technology to make them leaders. What are your quick thoughts as we close? Rashidatu first.
Yes, Bernard. So these are young ladies who also come from rural communities, but with the support they received through the MasterCard Foundation Tertiary Scholarship Program. They are sharing testimonies, or they are living testimonies to what is possible when young women are given the opportunity, what is possible when young women are supported and given the required resources to succeed. So I would want to end by saying that it is important that as a country, our governments, private sector, civil society organizations, NGOs, focus a lot of energy around designing solutions and interventions that meet the needs and context of rural girls especially. Most of the time we bring all these solutions and somehow it favors those in the urban area. So as we design, as we think about improving technology-enabled learning across the country, let's think about the rural girl who has no access to internet connectivity, who cannot afford internet, and who has no access to mobile devices. Let's think about them in our solutions as we design solutions to ensure we are not leaving them behind. We are carrying all of them.
All right. Thank you. Florence, what are your comments?
I want to close with these remarks. There are so many opportunities in technology. It's not only in technology alone. There are so many opportunities that even knowing just a little bit, if it's Excel, if it's Word, that can change the way you do things and the way you run your business. I tell people in 2021 and going forward, you cannot do anything without learning a bit of technology, whether you're a hairdresser, whether you're a mechanic, whether just knowing a bit, even how to use WhatsApp properly can increase your customer base, can change the way you do business. So we cannot in 2021 afford to relegate the use and exposure and access to technology to the background and sit aloof and watch things change. And so I want to encourage everyone, and you have no excuse because now there is information overload. There is now like Cecil is creating local content and partnering with people. We need to empower people. We need to work together to be able to realize this dream of giving access to women and girls to access technology.
Let me end with Cecil. Cecil, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so for us, this is so eCampus as a mobile learning technology is placed in a strategic position to deliver the tailored content for all. CAMFED, MasterCard Foundation can partner. Anybody who has content can partner so we can reach more people. We have what it takes to do that. It's working. It's been proven to work. We just need to create the partnerships Florence is talking about. So to end it all, I'll quote agree. If you educate a woman, you educate a whole community or a whole nation. So let's partner and educate the women, and we can have an educated society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cecil. Nutakor, founder and president of
eCampus,
an EdTech company committed to putting classrooms in the palm of the young learners. We also had Florence Toffa, CEO of Mobile Web Ghana, and a technology consultant. Rashidatu Iddrisu is head of programs, Young Women Empowerment at CAMFED Ghana. We've been discussing enabling young women leadership using EdTech, education technologies. And this program was brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation, who work with visionary organizations to enable young people in Africa to access dignified and fulfilling work. And EdTech Monday is one of the initiatives of the Foundation's Regional Center for Teaching and Learning in ICT. And I want to say a big thank you to Kweku Avle for his support in this regard. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you for watching and for listening. The Citi Breakfast Show ends right away. Kokui, we have to go.
Oh.
Yes, we have